Um, this morning, the Secretary released the 2023 International Religious Freedom Report, where there's a considerable chapter on Iran. Today is also the International Day in support of victims of torture, torture is rampant in Iranian jails, per your own annual reports on human rights in Iran. On Tuesday, yesterday, a group of political prisoners in Iran, they asked that the world pay more attention to the human rights situation in Iran, especially in view of the recent comment by Ali Khamenei that among the officials of the judiciary system, he was saying, ignore international or Western, quote unquote, Western human rights standards, and only national laws apply. Now, I was wondering, besides sanctions against Iranian officials, what other alternatives do you have to try to secure Iranian people's human rights?
So, first of all, we absolutely agree that the world should pay more attention to the oppression of the Iranian people. And one of the things that we have done since the outset of this administration is to work to highlight human rights abuses inside Iran, highlight crackdowns on the freedom of the Iranian people. And we do that not just through our bilateral engagements around the world. We do it through public reports that we issue. You referred to one of them. And we also do it working through international fora, where we consistently raise the regime's brutal crackdown and brutal repression of the Iranian people, and encourage other countries to raise their voices and object to it publicly and object to it privately. We also take measures to ensure that the Iranian people can stay connected to the outside world. We've talked before, you've heard me talk before from this podium about what we have done to ensure that they have access to the internet through VPNs, so the Iranian people can find out from independent news sources outside Iran more about what their government is doing. And then I do think the measures that we impose, the accountability measures that we impose, are important. We have imposed more than, I believe it's 600 sanctions and other measures on Iran and Iran-related entities since the outset of this administration. Some of those are for their support for terrorism and other destabilizing actions, but a number of them are for their oppression of the Iranian people, and we will continue to take those actions as appropriate.
But Matt, sanctions are not helping people.
Well, so my point is, sanctions are just one of the tools in our arsenal. Ultimately, calling out that oppression, making sure other countries focus on it, and we wish more countries would. Let's be perfectly frank. It would be, we would welcome other countries objecting to the brutal crackdowns of the Iranian people. We see some, of course, and to that statement, yes, a lot of them are in the Western world. We would welcome every country in the world speaking out against Iran's brutal crackdowns. And as I said, we also work to support the Iranian people, and those are the measures that we have available to us, and we will continue to use them.
Well, clearly they're not going to listen, as Khamenei has said, to
I certainly don't think the regime in Tehran is going to listen, but as I said, we're going to continue to try to make sure the Iranian people can also get information from outside sources, and we support the Iranian people in their rights to exercise their freedom of expression and other basic rights available to them. Go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. Staying on the religious in your report, in the Iraqi section, it says that restrictions on freedom of religion remain widespread outside of Kurdistan, but in some parts of the Iraq. And also, there are continued reports of violence by the armed groups, sectarian groups, like Iranian-backed groups on the religious minority in Iraq, especially in Sinjar, the people, Yazidi people, they fear to go back to the region because of these groups. So what tools and what measures do you have, and have you put in place against these groups in order to take their responsibility?
So first of all, when it comes to the report that we released today, I'm not going to be able to give you a detailed answer as pertains to what's in the report. It's a long, detailed report, covers scores of countries around the world, and I'm not an expert who can speak to every piece of information that was in the report. I will say the report itself is the point of the report itself is to make information public. It is not the vehicle through which we impose accountability measures. It is the vehicle that informs the policy choices that we make. So it is one of the things that we do to gather information, to make that information public, and then we take into account all the information that's in the report to inform the policy choices, none of which I'm going to preview from here.
Another question on the Kurdistan region. After After long postponement, today the Kurdistan Region President Najm Barzani sets October 20th as the new date for the Kurdistan Region's election. As the U.S. government were engaged and so encouraged the Kurdistan Region to schedule a date for that election. So what's your comment on that? And how do you see the process of preparation for that election and also the recent change to the election in that region?
So we welcome the announcement of parliamentary elections on October 20th in the Iraqi Kurdistan region. Elections are a vital element of the democratic process, and we expect the authorities to ensure that they are free, transparent, and occur without further delay. And we appreciate the Iraqi Kurdistan region's president's efforts to reach agreement between all parties.